Yeah.
Okay. So, ladies, we're here to do this. Textile artists. By the time we're done with all these meetings or on Zoom for the next couple of weeks, we should hopefully have this badge finished, despite you guys having to finish the project. But the basic gist of it will finish. All right, leave this to you. When you see all the colors and textiles of fabrics and yarns, you dream of a million things to do with them. Get ready to learn visions into reality as you meet with artists to meet. Learn about the world of textile arts and create 2 projects.
Paige, go upstairs here.
In the craft.
I hear you breaking up a lot, Corinne. Are you breaking
Hey!
up to anyone else or is it just me?
Get over here! Sorry.
Take your stuff.
Go upstairs. Go.
Okay, Dad got the other computer working.
I got the dogs. Go. Upstairs.
I got it. Okay. Should I read that again?
Yes, because it was definitely chopped up and kind of taken over by others talking.
Okay.
Oh, because I used it once for my braces.
All right. When you see all the colors and textures of fabrics and yarns, do you dream of a million things to do with them? Get ready to turn those visions into reality as you meet with artists. I guess that will be me. Learn about the world of textile arts and make 2 projects in the craft that most inspire you to pick up your needles, loom, or spinning wheel. And in this case, we're going to be using a loom. All right. So basically, step 1 is called choose your textile art. And there are different types of different textile arts, not just with knitting or we're going to be doing, but there's other types of textile arts which you guys probably are aware of, like embroidery, cross stitch, needlework, patchwork, macrame, weaving, spinning, and also quilting. These are all different things that are using different textiles. Okay. So I'm going to sort of give you a little background information about knitting and loom knitting. And let me get my paper here. So
You want to do a review of what the 5, Corinne, do you want to do a review of what the 5 steps are for the patch?
Yeah, let me do that real quick. So step 1 is choose your textile art, which we're going to do, which we did. Step 2 is find your tools and materials, which I'm going to do after I give you a little background. I'm going to tell you all the tools and materials that you're going to need for this craft. Step 3 is learn the basics. So when we meet the next time, hopefully you guys will have your materials and we can sort of start what we're going to do. I can give you an idea how to start the project and, you know, kind of do it.
I cannot hear.
We can't hear you, Corinne.
Mom, we can't hear you.
I can hear you.
You can?
Yeah.
You can hear me. I can't hear Corinne, though.
Well, I can hear everybody. So even if you don't want me to hear you, which might be creepy, but I can hear you.
Okay, why don't you repeat whatever thing was being said then?
Thank you. I'm serious.
Does Corinne know that we can't hear her? Let me text her real quick.
There we go. I got it.
I can.
That's probably
Okay.
was happening earlier.
Sorry, I had to.
Did she mute herself?
Your AirPods. Sorry, you keep connected to this
We
computer.
lost her again. Oh, there you are.
Oh, okay. My AirPods are
What do you think? Ask Mom.
Okay, so we got the 5 steps, right?
No, we didn't hear you.
No,
Did you hear any of the steps?
Up to step 2, gather your materials.
Okay. Step 3 is learn the basics, which is basically I'm just going to teach you, you know, the basic what you need to do to start the project, and then the basic stitch. And then you guys will sort of take off from there. Step 4 is make something for everyday use. And in this case, you guys are going to either make a hat or a scarf, because that's what I know how to make. And then step 5 is create a gift or item for a special occasion, and we're going to make either hat or scarf for charity. Okay, so in total, the goal is to make 2 things. So, you guys got that? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's a little background information. Loom knitting. So what would you guys think? Do you guys think loom knitting is cheating than regular knitting?
No.
I don't know what Loom Knitting is.
No.
There's a lot of, like, I guess, people who do a lot of needle knitting that hate on people who do loom knitting because they think it's cheating, but it's absolutely not cheating in any way, because you are constructing something with your hands. You're just using a different tool. You're not using needles, you're just using a loom in this case.
Okay, then I guess it's
The
not cheating.
stitches will end up looking exactly the same. So you could make something and someone could say, oh wow, you knitted that, and you could say, yeah, I did it on my loom, because nobody could tell the difference between a loom stitch and a needle stitch. Okay. The oldest known knitted artifacts are socks that were done in Egypt back in the 11th century AD. They used a very fine gauge, and it was unsure as of now what tool was used to knit them, but it shows that knitting goes back an awfully long time. The question is posed, is the loom knitting new? Since you're just seeing, you might be just seeing loom knitting looms in the stores. And the answer is not really. Loom knitting dates back for centuries. It wasn't always called loom knitting. It was sometimes called peg frame knitting from the late 14th century, stocking frame knitting during the time of Queen Elizabeth I.
It's on.
And it's sometimes also called ring, wheel, rake, French, or spool knitting. So you might hear those other terms used with knitting. The resurgence of loom knitting has definitely been increasing in popularity over the past 2 decades. Knitting looms are a lot easier to find. You can find them right in Michael's or any other craft store. You can find them on Amazon. You know, if you search knitting looms, you can easily find them. Instructions are much easier than they used to be. And if you go on like YouTube, you can find video tutorials on all different kinds of loom knitting patterns.
What's she doing?
There was a question posed, which came first, the needles or the looms? It's still unknown. No one really knows which ones came first. But it doesn't make any difference. It's all considered knitting. Okay. Knitting tends to be a lot easier for children because it's easier for them to hold than using knitting needles. But I prefer using the loom myself. I find that I get more, I don't want to say bang for my buck, but I get a little bit, you know, I get more projects done faster and easier, I think. So let's see.
You know how to knit with needles?
I do know how to knit with needles. The knitting needles that I have are metal, and I find that they kind of hurt my fingers a little bit as I'm working with them, and they're a lot longer. But you can buy all different sizes and different. You can buy wooden ones. You can buy probably plastic ones, so that might be easier. But I also find that when I use a knitting loom, I'm not dropping stitches, and I'm able to keep track of all the stitches. Whereas when you're using knitting needles, sometimes you can kind of lose count of how many stitches you went through. And sometimes also, if you just want to take the project with you and you shove your knitting needles into a bag, it can come apart. Whereas the loom, it generally will not do that. So that's why I love it. I can literally like take my yarn, take my loom, shove it in a bag, and I can keep going where I left off. So So pros and cons of looms and needles, which I kind of gave you a little bit. They each have pros and cons. Knitting needles definitely tend to be a little bit cheaper, and they are a little bit more portable. I mean, a loom is definitely bigger than 2 little needles. But anything that can be knit on needles can be knitted on looms, which is great. And like I said, I just gave some pros on looms. They're easier to work with your hands, I do believe. It makes it a lot harder to drop stitches, and it makes traveling easier. So that's my preference. And I can sit with my loom and my yarn on my couch and watch TV and just go and go and go and go. Before I know it, and like my project's done. So
Amazing.
okay. We talked about loom knitting is not cheating. It is just using a different tool. Your project will end up looking exactly the same as if you were to use needles. So let me give you, there's a weight system when it comes to yarn when you're buying. So anytime we're doing any kind of knitting, we're going to be we're doing a yarn craft. Okay, and when you go to buy yarn, there's a scale that classifies yarn anywhere from 0 to 7. 0 being very thin yarn, kind of like this, you know, like a really, really, really thin yarn. Okay, up to 7, that's very, very, very thick. So you can get, you know, you can get a lot thicker yarn. So by the way, this is one of the brands that I absolutely recommend, this Burnett. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Michaels. Did I turn it upside down? Here we go. So this Burnett blanket yarn is amazing. It's soft, it's flexible, and you can get a huge thing of it. Like this on Amazon, this huge thing, sometimes you can get for like $8, $9, and it lasts forever. So just to give you an example of something that would be on the 0 scale of yarn would be lace. Lace is extremely thin, extremely more delicate, and something that would be marked on the 7 scale would be called jumbo lace, the jumbo yarn. So, which, let me see.
You don't have the jump.
Something like this would be a lot thicker.
Show the bottom.
Which I generally don't work with this because it's, I don't know, it just tends to not look as great. I like to use a sort of somewhere in the medium size range. Okay. Any questions so far? I know this is fascinating, right?
I don't think you can hear them. It seems pretty new.
Okay.
No, I like it. Now, a lot of times, though, when I think of a loom, I think of those big, huge things that people sew the fabrics through to make carpets and rugs and things like that.
That's different. That's
so
a
that's what I think of.
that's different.
That's a weaving loom.
Yeah, that's different. But you can weave too with yarn as well. Anything that can be, if you prefer wanting to learn about something like that. All right, so there's 3 main types of yarn when you go to look for yarn, and the 3 main types of yarn are protein fibered yarn, cellulose fibered yarn, and synthetic fiber yarn. Okay, protein fibers, what would you guys think would be protein fibers? I'll give you a hint, they come from animals. So what kind of textile you think would come?
I was about to joke that they came from animals, but
So protein fibers are like wool and silk. They come from like animals like sheep, alpacas, llamas, angoras, that kind of thing. A lot of people will have specific farms just to raise alpacas, just to get the yarn. So cellulose fibers come from plants. So what do you think an example of that would be?
cotton?
Huh?
Cotton?
Cotton, yep, cotton is one. Hemp, linen, those are other cotton fibers. I mean, cellulose fibers. And then synthetic fibers are made from acrylic or polyester, which generally tend to be on the cheaper, more durable side than natural fibers. Blended yarns have become quite popular, so you could get yarn that's a combination between cotton and polyester, or any other different types of combinations. Lately, I tend to be using more of the synthetic fibers. I use a lot of polyester. I find that it's very durable and very soft and fluffy, and that's typically what I use. So any of these yarns right here by Bernat, these are generally polyester yarns. Okay. Okay, so any questions with any of all that? The yarn history, knitting history, anything like that? Okay. All right, so we can move into materials. So in the email that I sent out, I gave two examples on Amazon that you could go to, and I can send them out again. Basically, most of the times when you go to, obviously we can't go to Michael's right now and just go shopping, so you're gonna have to order online. Typically you get these packs of these knitting looms. You guys have seen these before? I know, Natalie, you have these, right? Val, are these the ones you have?
Yeah, I think we have them.
Okay. Let me pull these out so I can show you.
Nat, you can get your pack. I think Nat got her packs from Michael's, and it was just came with one blue one along with the other materials that come with it. There's, Corinne will get into that.
So typically you'll have, you'll have a small one like this one that'll come in a kit, and this one is good like if you wanted to make a hat for newborn babies, or if you wanted to make a scarf. This is the size you want to use, because obviously you don't want to make a scarf using a real wide one, because you want a real wide scarf, unless you're going to use it as like a shawl or something like that. So your small one would be the one you'd want to use. And typically these looms do come in a pack. So you'll see if you go to Amazon, search knitting looms, you'll see them in packs. And I'll give you I'll send out the two that I recommend again. Then you have this size right here, which is a little bit bigger, which you would probably use if you're making a hat for a young child, or a wider scarf, or someone who has a very typically known small head. But this is the one right here that I use on a regular basis. Okay, so this would be the one that I would make all my hats from that I've made. And actually, let me pull out. This is one I just finished. What do you guys think of that?
Nice.
Pretty cool, right?
Ooh.
It looks really nice.
So this is from that Bernat polyester yarn. It is extremely stretchy. It is extremely soft. I made Miss Valerie a hat for Christmas. I think she can attest that it's warm.
I love it. Yes.
Okay, so I made that hat using this, which is your standard size loom. Okay.
She just came back.
Also,
Do you know how many, Corinne, sorry, real quick, do you know either how wide across it is with the radius, or maybe how many, little pegs are on it to kind of give an idea of what size to get?
that's for me, starting from 1 here.
1, 2.
So she's going to count them and I'll tell you. Give her.
Perfect.
So
Good,
also
that'd be
when you
great.
get a loom knitting kit, it'll also come with one of these, which is what they call loom, a knitting pick. Okay. So you'll need one of these. That'll come with it. And then you'll also get a knitting needle. Okay.
36,
And it looks like it's like your typical sewing needle, but a little bit thicker.
36, I think.
Try it again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay. So you'll need a looming kit. If you don't buy the kit, then you'll have to get the pick and you'll have to get a needle separately. That's why I recommend just getting the kit.
36.
Okay, so in this orange wheel, the one that I said that is most used is 36 pegs.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
36 pegs. That's kind of the standard adult size if you're making an adult size hat. A couple other tools that you might look into getting, and one of the kits that I recommend on Amazon, it also includes these. These are pom-pom makers. Okay, make small pom-poms and large pom-poms. And that's how you make one of these cool little things on the top. Okay, you could go online and watch a YouTube tutorial on how to do a pom-pom by making your own, like out of these, out of cardboard, which I did. But to be honest with you, these are awesome. So if you can pick these up, these are great. You can do all kinds of pom-poms in seconds.
Tassels
So,
too.
okay.
Yep. Tassels
So
too.
the one kit on Amazon that did not include these was like $15, and then I think the kit on Amazon that included these was like $18. So just a couple dollars more, you could get these. So. Okay, any questions on those tools so far? Okay, you guys all have access where you can order online like Amazon or from Michaels.com? Okay, and I know Michaels can also do curbside pickup. Like if you ordered online, you could drive up to the store and they'll just bring it out to your trunk so you don't even have to get out. So that's another option. Okay, basically the yarn that you choose is probably going to be your preference as far as, you know, the texture that you like. I have used wool yarn in the past. Just keep in mind, wool tends to be a little bit more itchy. Like I said, polyester yarns, like the Burnett blanket yarn, is my preference. I own a lot of it. So the hat that I'm going to be starting with you guys next week, I'm going to start using with this red that I got on Amazon. And this size is a good size. Sorry. I think this is about, it doesn't say the millimeter, but if you can kind of see if you can see the thickness of it, you can kind of get an idea. But if you search on Amazon Burnett blanket yarn, you'll get a bunch like this in any color that you want. So you can pretty much pick any color that you like. On the hat that I did here, you see how the rim is different than the body? So you can get two different colors if you'd like. On the bottom, I used a turquoise yarn. And then on the top, I used, where's my other yarn? Where's my other yarn that was sitting here, Abby?
It's right here. This one?
No, the other yarn.
This
Hold
orange one?
on a second. Here you go. I got a yarn like this. It's multicolored so that your hat will look multicolored. Okay.
Or like the ombre.
So it will look like this as you're moving along. You don't have to worry about changing colors if you don't want. Okay. Or you can make, you know, an all black hat, an all white hat, or Sophia's case, an all orange hat, you know. So I just happen to need to be making a red and white one for somebody who's a Red Sox fan. So that's going to be the one I'm going to. So if you want your rim to be a different color, definitely get two different color yarns. Okay, and I will show you as we go along how to do a rim on your hat. Okay.
Or we can just do red, white, and blue.
You know, if you're just doing a scarf, you might just want to do all one color. It doesn't matter. But the yarn on Amazon can run anywhere from like, I would say like $6 to $12, depending on, you know, how big a size you get or how. This is called a skein. This would be one skein of yarn. Sometimes Amazon sells them in packs of 3 or packs of 6, so
Should I go
just
get mine?
depends.
Should I go get mine?
And they just need one. If they just one will make one hat. If they
Yeah.
don't want to switch colors, or if they get multicolors.
And I think even this size right here, see these are 2 different sizes right here. This I can probably make 2 or 3 hats from. This would definitely
Wow.
probably make at least 1 or 1 whole scarf, because there's a lot in here. So
And what about if they want to make a scarf? Would they need just one as well?
let's say you want to make a hat and then you want to make a matching scarf, or you want to make both. Then maybe you want to just get one thing of yarn and just do both of your projects with this one big thing yarn. You know, this happens to be a multicolor of blue, which I love blue. So, you know, but they sell all kinds, real easy on Amazon. What you don't want is I wouldn't recommend getting yarn like this. This is more like string, because what happens is you try to loom with yarn this thin and your hat becomes really, really, really tight. It doesn't stretch, and it takes a lot longer, and you're going to need multiple stitches to make it thick. So another option, if you want something really soft to the touch, Burnett makes what they call this velvet yarn. And I've used this too, and this is also really nice. If you don't like necessarily the polyester kind. So you can just search on Amazon Burnett velvet, crushed velvet. This is really nice as well. So it may not be as stretchy as this one, but it's very, very, very soft. So I don't know if you can see that texture. It's a little shinier. So
Oh, have you made one with one of those? I'm just wondering.
yeah, I think I have. Let me pull it out. Let me see. Might have given it away. I did make one. I think I gave it away as a gift.
Which one?
My my one with my velvet.
Yeah, I think you gave that to Miss Laura.
This one here, this hat here, I made with wool yarn. And again, like I said, wool is also very nice. It's pretty durable, but it's a little bit stiffer and it's a little bit more itchier. So like I said, it's just personal preference. So, okay.
So what size are you recommending? I know you said the wool came from 1 to 7 in thickness.
Yeah, I'm looking on this here. Let's see. Let's see. This is 108 yards. Oh, this is a 6. This one here.
Okay. So you would recommend what, like a
Yes,
4, 5, or 6 or something?
This one's super bulky. They call it super bulky. So this is a 6. So I would recommend a 6 or 7. Let's see. Let me see what this one is. Oh, this is also a 6. So what I do most of my hats is with this size. These are both the same, just different size skeins. This is a little thicker. I mean, this is a little bit bigger of a skein. Sorry. So Abby's working on one right now. Look.
Cute. Okay.
So, but see what's nice about these looms? You can shake them, shake them, shake. Nothing comes off. So, you know, you can do a round, you can set it down, you can come back, you know, which is great. So if anybody has trouble ordering online or would prefer not, I mean, I do have a ton of yarn here. You could always privately text me or email me. And, you know, I could leave something on your front porch if you wanted to swing by and pick something up. I do have a lot of colors. I have a lot of blue, I have whites, a lot of creams and stuff like that. So if anybody's interested,
Not everybody do it
you know,
once, okay?
but obviously I can't give out the same thing to everybody because I usually only have one of something. So you can privately message me if you would prefer, But I think if you order from Amazon, you'll have it, and that way you can do both of your projects, and then you continue with your knitting. Hopefully, you'll like it so much like me, you'll just knit away and make hat after hat after hat, even though it's going into spring. So.
No, it's almost there.
All right, ladies, is there any other questions? Sophia, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
How come we can't see you?
Because I have my camera off, but I have it on.
Okay.
Sophia.
All right, ladies, so the plan is to meet again next week, same time, same day, Thursday at 7. And hopefully by then we will all have our knitting looms and our tools. And I will show you how to start the project and show you the basic stitch. And then you guys will be off and running. And then we might need to meet again to, once you've started, to possibly do a real short meeting on how I can show you if you want to do a rim on your hat or a rim on your scarf. And then we'll have to meet finally at the end so I can show you how to finish your hat or your scarf. So does that work for everybody next week? Sam, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, it works.
Oh, you said yeah, okay. Okay, Valerie, do you have anything you want to say to the girls?
I do. Just real quick, there was a gold award workshop that was coming up on the 14th, and it is completely full. I wanted to go and register some of the girls that had gotten back to me, but if everybody is still good, I'm going to wait for another one to pop up because the lady is saying it's a super popular program, so she is going to add more sessions for her gold award, and it is a 2.5 hour session, but I think it'll be really good. Again, it's going to be via Zoom, so it'll be one of these things. I think there's 20 kids per each session, so it's just
Both those
filling up.
sessions in April are full?
What was that?
Both those sessions in April are full?
There were 3 sessions, and this is her second batch of 3 that she just added on, and all 3 were filled up.
Okay.
So she's going to hopefully add 3 more.
Just keep us posted if more pop up.
I will definitely keep you posted, and if anyone has any I'm going to send out as soon as I see it, I'll send out the date and time, and hopefully the quicker you get back to me, the quicker I can sign us up for it, okay?
Did you all also get the email Valerie sent out about the fun patch you can get while social distancing?
I got it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
I need to
fun.
recheck the email again.
I printed it out, Paige, so we have it. But you could print it out, and you can, as long as you have to do 25 things on the list or something.
25 items on the list. Let me know once you're done with everything. I'm sure a lot of you have done probably a
Half of it already.
large, more than you probably thought you did. And this class right now that we're doing, this session with Corinne, counts for 3 different of the activities. It counts for a virtual meeting, a Girl Scout meeting, it counts for working on a badge. And there's one that says learn to sew, which I think we have a little leeway, and knitting would count. So I think
Sewing
we're
when you get to the needle part at the
Exactly.
end of that, you'll be
There's a
doing a little sewing.
there's a needle, so it counts as sewing. So, and hopefully y'all have maybe watched a movie or had some popcorn or something like that. And once you have everything, just shoot me a text or an email saying, Miss Valerie, I've done 25 of these activities. Please apply for my badge or fun patch, and I will go ahead and do that.
What about the sky badge?
Hmm?
What about the sky patch?
That's something we can look at if you want to look at and do individually. Any of the other badges you guys are interested in, I have some here. Just email us and we can give you the details. But we only have a couple minutes left, ladies, so I don't want to run out of my free time. But if you have any questions in between now and next week on ordering your materials, text me, email me, let me know, or call me, and I can help you. If you want to maybe borrow some yarn, let me know. Other than that, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Corinne.
All right. Bye, guys. Stay safe.
Bye, girls.
See you.
Bye.
Bye, girls.
Bye.